Hello there, I'm Jack Dougal. I'm an IB Business Management and Humanities teacher, and in this little lesson we're going to look at AI for feedback. How can AI help us with our marking? We do a lot of it. So, it's a common topic. As I said before, we do a lot of marking. Teachers work, I think, more than any other profession outside of their working day, correcting work. So lots of people are saying, well, how can AI come along and make me more efficient? How can it speed up that process? Good question. Secondly, some teachers are saying, well, how can I use AI to make me a more effective marker? How can I give better feedback? I believe AI can help to some extent with both of those two things, and we're going to look at some examples of how I use it in this video. Before we start though, there's a couple of tools out there which are a couple of tools, there's more than that, they're increasing each day. You can see on my screen we've got Brisk, we've got Magic School, we've got Diffit. Now I'm going to call those wrapper sites. They use things like ChatGPT in the background, but the idea is they make it really easy and accessible. You can go to those sites and they will have ready-made things that you can work with. They're fantastic. I don't use them very much, and I'm not going to be talking about them in this lesson. That's not to say they're not good, but I find the limitation of those is they're fairly restrictive on how much you can alter both the input and the output. So in this video, I'm going to be concentrating on ChatGPT because the only limit on ChatGPT really is your imagination. So I'm going to give some examples based on that. Before we start with the example though, I think it's important we have 3 warnings before using AI for your marking. The first is GDP laws. Be careful, it's fairly obvious, but don't be putting sensitive information about the children into AI. Remove names, make it anonymous. Not only is it unethical to put children's names, it could actually be breaking the law in some places. So keep everything anonymous. Secondly, I think we have to mention this. We may not like marking, I don't like it that much, but I certainly get a lot from it. It's where I figure out whether all of the things I've been trying to explain have been understood. I think the marking process for me is formative. The homework I set is formative. And that is the best time when I see what they've actually written and I read it, I understand how the children are getting along. So I think we have to be careful of fully automating that process and removing ourselves from it. Are we going to break a student connection? I just think that's something to think about. Thirdly, remember, it's still early days in this technology. It's improving an enormous amount by the day, but it's not perfect. So just like we say to the children, don't trust the output. Be critical, be cynical. Of course, you have to do the same thing. Certainly, I wouldn't recommend putting all your marking in and just handing it back to the children without reading. It's going to have mistakes. Be sensible in your use. I'm sure you are. Okay, with those 3 warnings, let's go into 3 examples of how I use it on a daily basis. Method number 1. This is for fairly low-level tasks, and that is one of the criticism that people are angry about with AI. They're saying that what it's going to do is going to make teachers do more poor tasks like multi-choice. Be aware of that. I think there is a danger of that, but I also think there is a time and a place when we're busy teachers. There is a time and a place for a multi-choice quiz, maybe with the younger years where we need to save that time and improve our efficiency. So this is one of those examples. It's fairly low level, but with a little bit of a twist at the end. So I've got my ChatGPT up. I'm not going to do it live because it would be slow feeding through. So just quickly, I'll show you the whole process here of how we could use it. You can see I've said, write a multi-choice quiz about volcanoes that targeted at my 12-year-old geography class who studied the British national curriculum. I can write that. It's then going to produce a quiz. Have a read through that. I'm saying I'm happy with that quiz. Of course, we would give it a bit more detail. Then what I could do is once I give that quiz, I could then copy and paste in the answers from the student, from one student at a time. here we go, I've done that. So what is a volcano? Students' answers, and it marks it. Now, you're saying, that's not quicker. Multi-choice is quick already. You can just swap with the partner. Yeah, true. So I haven't really saved much time in that situation. It can do it though, as we can see. Check the answers. However, a little twist of how this can be improved. For the next thing you can see, okay, but explain to the student, I think with a typo in there, which is how I use ChatGPT. That is one of the ways it improves your efficiency, is that you don't have to perfectly type. It understands and picks up on all the spelling mistakes. Doesn't improve grammar. Some people are hating it, I'm sure. But I write very quickly and very casually. It saves me that time. So, sorry, digression. Okay, but explain to the student exactly why he was wrong and what you think happened. Make them understand their mistakes to ensure they aren't confused. Well, this is the great bit then. So then it can give personalized feedback even on this multi-choice. Your answer then, I can then copy and paste, send this directly back to the student. Your answer was, where are volcanoes likely to form? They said, in the middle of continents. The correct answer is along plate boundaries. Now, I didn't have to write anything, but they're getting a personalized answers. Volcanoes are most commonly found along boundaries of Earth's tectonic plates. These are massive sections. And if we see all of the ones they've got wrong, it's not only going to tell them why the correct answer is correct, it's also going to say why they might have got mixed up. You can scroll through, and that is very quick. That gives them a lot of feedback that you can send very quickly. So it turns a low-level task into something a little bit better. Not amazing, I'm not claiming it is, but something interesting. If you use your imagination, because we're using ChatGPT, I'm absolutely sure you can do something even better than that. As I say, the limit is only your imagination, but something you could try. That's number one. Method number two, and this is another way really to increase your efficiency, to save you some time. Now, with a little twist again at the end. What I'm going to be doing in this task, I'm going to be using my mobile phone. I'm going to be using ChatGPT on my mobile. I'll explain why in a moment. For this task, I want you to imagine, I'm going to demonstrate. If you imagine, I've set an A-level, that's one of the things I teach, A-level business studies question, that's with 17-year-olds. I set the question, I've given it for homework or whatever, and it's come back in. I've got a stack of papers next to me and I'm marking those papers. Now, before marking them, I've added in a little bit of information. I've added the mark scheme and the question and a bit of description into ChatGPT. I'm going to show you that now on my screen. It should be popping up. You can see I've written, I have set my A-level business studies class a question. I want you to help me write feedback comments in a more structured and clear way. I will tell you my thoughts on how each student did, and I want you to write comments for me using my feedback. Here is the question and the mark scheme. The question was, discuss how ethics may influence the decisions of private sector banks. And then below that, I've just copy and pasted all of the mark scheme into that. Now, the reason I'm looking at my mobile phone, you can see it says the feedback, it will show commendation, areas for improvement and advice for future work. Great. As I said, the reason I'm on my mobile phone and hovering it in front of you is because ChatGPT, like many of the other AIs, when you use it on the computer, it has no way of voice activating it. But your mobile phone does. It's not using anything that's with OpenAI. It's using the Google speech button, which therefore can work on any of the AIs you use, and it's a great little shortcut. So instead of me having to type or write, as a time saver, I can just talk into it. That's what I'm going to do now. If you don't know how to do it, there's lots of videos online, but it's really simple. Once you type, your little typing thing on my screen, you will see there's a microphone. When I click that microphone, we're off and it's going to start writing whatever I say. So I'm going to do that in a moment. I'm going to put in some imaginary feedback and let's see what it does. Okay, this was for John. I was really pleased with his efforts. It's far better than he has been doing recently, and he's clearly listened to my advice and is taking the exams seriously. His chain of analysis was excellent, but his conclusion was a little off as he didn't talk about the limitations in his evaluation. However, the biggest problem was that he misunderstood the difference between being ethical and illegal. This meant that despite good structure, he's lost most of the marks in the answer. He shouldn't be disappointed though, as this is good progress. You can then see on my screen, feedback for John, likely with level 2. Well, I don't want that. I can take that out. John, I'm genuinely impressed with your efforts in this assessment. It's clear you've taken on board all of these things. We can scroll through it, don't know why that's there. Too many things going on. I can read through all of that. Great. If I'm not happy, I can talk to it again and improve it and change it. But here's the little extra bit. Let's watch this one. Okay, happy with that feedback. Now, can you help me though? Because I'm worried he's still not going to understand the difference between ethical and illegal. Can you design a fun 20 to 30 minute task that he will enjoy and will make him fully understand the difference between ethical and illegal? And there we go. Now from here, I can give him the feedback. I can also give him a personalized follow-up task. I said it was increasing your efficiency. You might be saying, yeah, that's quite a lot. Well, depends how you're used to it. But a mix there between the two. It's flying through on my screen. I don't know how that is first time through. It might not be great. But again, I can just talk back to it as you saw. If I'm not happy, I'll talk back, I'll read it, and I can fine tune it. It might just give me a little bit of an idea and I say, no, that's no good, I'm not going to do it. But we need a human in the loop. We don't just hand out that task, but this could be an improvement. That was method number 2. Hope that's helpful. Method number 3, and this one is to improve your efficacy rather than efficiency. There comes a time for every teacher, I'm sure it certainly does to me, where you're going to be a little bit nervous. You're doing something important and you just want a second opinion. Well, for me, I also teach IB and I want to show you how I used it there. So in IB, the children do something called an extended essay and they have advisors. I'm an advisor to one of my students and the child gets to choose the topic of their choice, therefore not necessarily a specialist of mine. And they can stop in throughout the period, put things in front of me. There are times where they have to put it in front of me and I'm supposed to guide them and give them a second opinion on how they can improve it. As I said, I feel that's quite a lot of pressure. I read it and is it good? Is it bad? I have an opinion, but I would like a second opinion. That's where ChatGPT can come in. So I've got it on my screen again. What I do is I put the mark scheme. This was just for the reflection part of the IB extended essay. You can see I've put the mark scheme in. It's read and understood that. And then I said, how is this? I've just copied and pasted their reflection in and straight away it gives me feedback. You can have a read of that. It goes through each of the marking criteria and it says whether they've met it or whether they could put a little bit more. I'm not giving that to them, as I said at the start. I don't trust that to be perfect, but it's fantastic for me to have a second opinion. It's really comforting when I say, that's what I thought. I agreed with that. Again, I can talk back and forth, but you can have a read through that. One final little twist before we finish. Well, I can then, part of the IB process is to keep everyone informed. So you can see, I can then write a message. Okay, now write a very brief email to the child's parents from me, Mr. Dougal. And I put in some information of what wants to go into the email. I could do that through speaking through the mobile phone. But I work at an international school in Spain. Many of the parents are in Spanish. So this is a time saver. I can write in Spanish, but I'm very slow. So here we go. I'm not translating, but write this note in Spanish. I scroll down. And there we go. We've got it in Spanish. It's written it for me so I can copy it and paste that. Estimado padres, espero que este mensaje le encuentre bien. Blah, 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 blah. I can quick proofread of it. Even if not, Parents are always understanding, but I can copy and paste that and send that out. All in all, that process does save me a lot of time. So I said it wasn't for efficiency, but it has saved me time. But it really is about reassuring me that I'm giving the right advice. There we go. That was method number 3. I hope this session has been helpful. The key message I want to give you, the only limitation with ChatGPT is your imagination. However you normally do your assessment, just try it. You'll come up with new things every single day. There we go.